Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry, and here we are. I've been here before. It's been a couple of years, I think, at least, since I was here. And I'm going to do the B side here. I've already used one side on the previous job I was at, but we use this one here. And I'm not concerned about cross-contamination because we got a cat pee to deal with here anyway. And besides, there's ClO2 in my solution, which disinfects as it cleans anyway, so never an issue, actually. So anyway, this carpet is about 25 years old. I did clean it at least 2 years ago. It's I guess we're going to call it a multi-level loop. Get that tucked out of the way, I think. Kind of it's almost a commercial grade carpet, I think. Oh, that's old stuff. And there's a whole bunch of cat stains over here, pea stains. Most of them have actually faded now. I've just already treated them with the suspend with the ClO2, and so they've mostly faded away already. There's quite a few of them here, actually. Just doing living room, dining room, and hallway, and a few steps. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about my Hoover Hushtone. There she is. You know, I mentioned it the other day, and why I had decided that I was going to go back to using it again, because it simply has some advantages over the SEBO. One being, I'm quite sure it's actually more powerful. And also because it's a manual adjustment of the height, I can adjust the height to suit the specific carpet I'm at on, and I was finding that the SEBO, with the one I have is the automatic one, with the automatic height adjustment, that on certain plush carpets it would tend to be down too low and sort of make it more difficult to move the vacuum on the carpet. So anyway, so that's why I went back to using it. However, one of the reasons why I was actually decided to pull the SEBO out and start using it is because I was realizing that the Hushtone is getting a little old. And what happened is, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, the hose split. And now that's not an unusual thing to happen on these stretchy hose vacuums, because when you're using the hose, you pull it out and you're putting stress on it, eventually the hose will split. And that's not a big deal, because I just cut it a bit short and put it back together, and away I went. However, once it starts to split, it's because it is weak and it's going to split again, so it did. Now actually, this is my second Hoover Hushtone. My previous one was the wider one, 15-inch I guess, and I had it long enough that I actually wore out the brush roll, and I replaced the brush roll, and the hose, actually I don't think the hose did split on that one, to think of it. But anyway, what happens is the hose split on this one, and it split kind of in the middle, kind of maybe right here. So I was like, oh man. But I had the wider one, which still had the hose that hadn't split. So I put that hose that's on there now was from the older Hushtone I had. But I figured, well, it's probably going to split again pretty soon. It did. Of that, the brush roll in this one is actually nearly worn out. It's not quite worn out, but it's pretty close. So what could I do? I could replace the hose and the brush roll. But when I replaced the brush roll in the previous machine, which I the previous Hushtone. It was around, I think it was around $90 or so that I ended up paying with a brush roll. And I wasn't sure how long ago that was, but I just asked my wife to check the records there, and that Hushtone I bought in 2020. That's how long I've been using it for. And I'm using it, well, virtually, well, every day pretty much. And it's running virtually every job I do. I pre-vacuum and post-vacuum. So it's running a few hours every day. So after 5 years of running for a few hours every day, finally I've worn the brush roll down to where it's almost ready to be replaced, and the hose is starting to split. So I could replace the hose, although I'm not quite sure if I could even get the hose. I probably can, I think. But the hose itself is going to be probably a minimum of $50. I'm in Canada, so I get to pay more. It could be more, if I can even actually get it. And the brush roll, if I can get that, I'm sure it'll be over $100. So my thought is, well, I'm probably not gonna bother fixing these things, because the replacement, if I bought the new vacuum, was about $500 off of Amazon for the 13-inch Hushtone. So basically, for another couple $100 or $200 or $300, basically, I get a brand new vacuum. And you know what? For 5 years, I have no complaint about that. I've you know, it's been interesting. I've read comments from people about different vacuums, and some will say, well, the Hushtone breaks a lot. Well, I haven't had that happen, actually. I've owned and operated with the Pro Teams for a few years. I found they broke a lot. I mean, literally the body parts were breaking off. The back part, there's a handle grab there, it broke. The lid part broke. The lower body broke. I had to replace, you know, actually the whole lower body. I had an older one which I had hung on to, and I was able to basically replace the whole bottom body part right above the shoe. You know, yeah, the Hushtone is definitely been a more durable vacuum for me, anyway. Yeah, for five years that's plenty a long time. Nobody can complain about a vacuum going 5 years. And yeah, the replacement on Amazon for Canada is now about $500 for the Hoover Hushtone. I guess it's probably about around $400 in the USA. Yeah, and I'm not even really, as far as the parts go, yeah, the parts, like a brush roll and a hose, could be quite a bit more, because now we've got the tariffs. So I replaced the brush roll on my older Hushtone, but that was, well, it must have been at least 8 years ago, I'm guessing, and it was nearly $100. So I'm sure it's going to be quite a bit more money now to buy one. So anyway, the point is that my plan is to order myself another Hushtone. I do have that SIBO, but it's just not quite right for this work, because the automatic height adjustment makes it a real bear to operate on certain more plush carpets. It latches down, makes it really hard to push it. It's a nice vacuum, but I don't think it has the same pickup. It just doesn't seem to have the same power. I don't think it does, anyway. because I find myself emptying the bag in the Hushtone like seems like at least once a week on average. Whereas the SIBO, I noticed like the bag sure is taking a long time to fill. That's more of a subjective observation, but that was my impression anyway. Anyway, I was already considering and thinking that I was about due to replace the Hoover, and I didn't realize I'd had it for 5 years. That's really quite impressive, actually. When you consider that the vacuum runs for hours a day, you can't complain with that. Really, you can't. Anyway, this carpet is cleaning very well. No problem at all. The urine stains are disappearing. I did pre-treat all those areas with the suspend with the stabilized ClO2 in with 3000 ppm, and it certainly seems to be working at getting out those stains. I am using AstroTurf, as is my usual choice. Let's pull that wire. Some dirty steps to deal with, but they'll clean up pretty nice. This is a pretty old house. I would guess it was built in the 70s. There's some urine stains right up here. Actually, mostly they faded out already, so that's... And there I am again. I don't generally like to show my face. I figure you want to watch the carpet. You don't need to look at my face. Oh, there's a real dip right there in that carpet. Wow. We'll back out of here. we're gonna stop and take a look at the pad. Not too bad at all, actually. Okay, I'll let you go. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.